thank you again for the invitation to speak here today. It is a great honor and looking forward to a great day. When I got the invitation, we had an email attached to that which outlined 3 factors for success for our talk today. One was to share personal experience, your time working with these issues. Fine. The second one was make this the best talk of your life. The third one was say something during your speech that could potentially change the world. So the bar was set high. But then reflecting on that, I thought, but this is exactly what I want to talk about, because what was meant, I think, by the email was to change the perspective that you're having to approach the talk today. To really, it's not business as usual. How do you take the next step? How do you make it truly impactful? And that's what I want to do, is share some of my experience in the work at IKEA we've done with sustainability, which we've worked with for many years, but there's been a change in that from the 90s until now, going from a very risk-based approach to a transformational approach where it's really a core part of the business that, if we're going to be successful 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, it has to be a core part of the business. And I think if you ask anybody in business how long you want your company to be around for, most don't answer 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Most just naturally think it's going to be around forever. But if you think of the challenges that we've outlined today, along with another stat that I was struck by, that there's still 400 million children living in the worst case of poverty around the world. Until those change and that number becomes 0, we're not in an environment where our business is going to be successful forever. We also have something at IKEA, which is our business vision, which is to create a better everyday life for the many people. IKEA was founded in 1942, and of course even today, what we mean mostly by this, or have meant, is that we're a home furnishing company. So creating a better everyday life is often creating a better everyday life for people at home. Allowing people who don't have a lot of money to buy home furnishings, of good design, quality, at a good price, with sustainability built in, so you can have a good and nice home. But of course, this has changed over the years, and today it means much more. Creating better everyday life means not only our customers, but society as a whole, our co-workers, which are numerous and around the world, and then back in our supply chain, and not only at our first-tier suppliers, but really back to the raw material, and how do you impact that? A little bit about the impact that we have, and it is truly global and far-reaching. I won't go through all the numbers, but you can see you need to think about all aspects of the business when you're talking about that, and that's what we've tried to do. To do that, we often talk about integrating sustainability into the business, and in 2009 we had a bit of a revolution, at least in the area that I work. We were setting our business strategy from 2010 to 2015, and now it's extended to 2020. And we highlighted 4 cornerstones that would be key for success of the business. And sustainability was included as one of those. That is a transformational change within the business, because it goes from sustainability being something that is risk-based, a nice to do, maybe a good to do, to being a core part of the business. Of course, you then have to translate that into actions. And a year ago, we launched our newest sustainability strategy. We've had social environmental strategies from the early 90s. But the latest one, People and Planet Positive, was launched, and we've been working with that for a year. And what I wanted to highlight today was 2 simple components of that, which I think internally have created a great change. We'll see if it changes the world, but 2 points that I wanted to bring up was the simple phrase, a positive impact. Going from what we have historically done, some described it as being incrementally less bad, decreasing our negative impacts on the world, to starting with the idea is that everything that we do should eventually have a positive impact in wherever we work, whether this be in social aspects, environmental aspects, but it's through the business. And this really changes the way you start looking at things. It's challenging, but it has to create a different approach, and I think you've mentioned some of those already. The second one was to set 100% goals. Most times when you set a, quite often we're very much more comfortable setting a goal of 90% or 80%. But we started thinking is if you set a goal of 90%, you will always find a way to get into the 10%. There's always an excuse to find the 10%. If you set a goal of 100%, it challenges you. We had a fantastic conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago where we're looking at some new goals that we'll set, and we said, well, the goal has to be 100%, whether it's in 2015 or 2020, but that, you know, and they looked at us and said, but we can't do that with the way we currently work. I said, yeah, that's exactly right. I said, but that means we're going to have to be innovative. Yes, exactly. And that's the idea of this, is that, you know, it makes you, forcing you to be innovative, to do the things that many have talked about here, go outside your comfort zone and have a much more holistic approach to the challenges that you have. These are just a few of the goals, and I'm not going to go into them. I'll talk a little bit more about the cotton initiatives later on this morning. But the goals that we have are very much attached to the core business. If you're going to drive change as a company, it has to be attached to the core business, because we think this is not only good for society as a whole, but it is good and essential for our business going forward, and it will improve the business as we go. Some have been achieved already, and some are in the future. And I'll touch more on the cotton initiative, but I think the key to the cotton one was, it is this approach, as you mentioned. It's looking, we thought, the only way that we can be successful is that if the farmer in Pakistan, in India, in China is successful, if they have a sustainable business model and healthy family, happy family, then we can be successful. If it's not, then we will never reach there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Many have already touched on some of the key aspects of this type of approach. It has to be long-term. If you have a quarterly approach to this, or even a year-long approach to this, you're going to hit walls that are just insurmountable. You have to take investment in a long-term approach and actions in a long-term approach. It is very much a holistic approach, and that comes from the things we've mentioned already today, but also through partnership and cooperation. The first question that I ask everybody to take is, who knows more than we do about the issue that we're talking about? And mostly we find it in people in this room, through academics, through NGOs, in governments, in union organizations, labor organizations that can support us in this. And then at other companies, how do we bring them together to solve the problem? One of the great long-term partnerships that we've had is with UNICEF and Save the Children. And they've really ingrained this into us, starting in the mid-90s, about our approach to child labor and prevention, is that this isn't going to be solved in 2 years. And if you take the approach that we would just want to go, okay, that's done, let's move on, that's not the approach to take. So I think the learning you get from cooperation and partnerships is also important. And finally, it is to advocate, is to stand up and talk about not what you see as the end result so much, but what the challenges are, and then to invite others to join you and to come up with solutions. We do believe this is the best way forward for our company and to be successful. We do also believe that it will create a better everyday life for the many people around the world. And I can say from a personal point of view that it is a much more inspiring and challenging way to work, and an awful lot more fun way to work as well. So look forward to having a good day, and thank you for your invitation.